Today, we're heading on a unique journey as we expose and debunk some of the biggest myths surrounding medieval torture. Have you ever been intrigued or horrified by tales of spine-chilling methods of punishment from the Middle Ages? Well, it's time to question everything you thought you knew. Together, we'll sift fact from fiction and reveal the truth hidden behind the chilling tales that have been passed down through centuries. Stack 'em. The rack immortalised in the film Braveheart, and perhaps the most famous torture device of all time, was most likely not used in England until the very end of the 15th century and the medieval period, stretching its victim's body in opposite directions continuously. Beginning in the torturous heydays of the 1500s, when Queen Elizabeth I and other European monarchs began purging their countries of religious opponents, it was freely used alongside other devices. What's wrong with your ear? Mutilation such as amputation of an ear or hand was occasionally used as a punishment for serious crimes, particularly in larger jurisdictions such as London. More often than not, medieval law enforcement used the prospect of losing bodily bits and pieces as an empty threat, rarely carrying out the dead. One wonders how long criminals took to figure that out. The end of the world. Though a few pagan witches were certainly tried and burned at the stake during the medieval times, it was not until the Reformation period, typically beginning in the 1500s, that the practice really took off and hit full stride. Even during the height of the hysteria, witches were rarely burned in England. Instead, they were usually hanged. Beheadings in public was a weekly spectacle. Beheading, swift and painless as long as the axe was sharp, was regarded as a privileged way to die, reserved primarily for nobility and rarely commoners. Treason was their preferred crime, and the loppings were usually carried out within private castle walls. Are Royal Highnesses above the law? Well, sort of. While medieval nobles had certain privileges when it came to bending or creating new laws to serve their purposes, most European countries had legislation in place to prevent their kings and queens from completely running amok. One example is England's Magna Carta, which among other things limited the monarchy's financial powers. Left, right or centre executions. Hollywood would have us believe that medieval villains were executed on the spur of the moment, often in public squares, for crimes ranging from slapping a soldier to stealing the king's chickens. In reality, capital punishment was only applied in the most serious cases such as murder, treason and arson. Perpetrators were usually hanged. It's impossible to be out of sight and out of mind. Criminals who committed minor offences were frequently subjected to a 3 strikes and you're out policy. Rather than being executed or incarcerated, repeat offenders were frequently expelled from cities, not allowing them to return. Humane and cost effective, yes, but don't tell the unsuspecting town. Those strict church people? The pious Middle Ages took religious offences seriously, and each town's church usually ran its own kind of court to investigate everything from poor attendance to heresy. However, the church was also a place where criminals could avoid punishment or sentencing. The concept of sanctuary was well known in medieval times and allowed offenders to hang out, even flee the country without fear of being tracked down. The villages of the Dark Ages, when there was no law. In point of fact, earlier medieval communities took their social responsibilities much more seriously than we do today. If one of the people living in a community felt that they had been wronged in some way, they could issue a hue and cry, in which case all of the other people living in the community were obliged to assist in the pursuit and punishment of the perpetrator of the wrongdoing, or else the entire community would be held jointly accountable. Should I go straight to jail? The majority of medieval communities did, in fact, have a judge and jury system. However, trials rarely lasted longer than half an hour. In stark contrast to the drawn-out staged events that are commonplace in modern times, if the judge so desired, he, and it would always be a he, could ask a few simple questions and come to a decision without ever consulting the jury in any way. And that's pretty much it for today's video. Subscribe for more videos like this.